Therrien likes that fourth line. Mitchell, Danault, and Byron. Right now it's McCarron in for him, and he scores! Mike McCarron, a wrist shot from long range. Anderson might have been screened. It's 2-0.
Et le numéro 31, number 31, Carey Price.
8:06 on TSN 690. It's Weekend Game Plan with Matthew Ross, Dave Trentadue on the board. We're joined for our Habs Breakfast segment here by the play-by-play man for TSN 690, Dan Robertson, as well as Amanda Stein here in studio. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well. Congratulations on the new show.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much, and thanks for taking some time this morning. I know you have some late evenings covering the team, so I appreciate your time today.
All my evenings are late. I can't help it. Ask Amanda. She knows.
We know all too well. You and me both, Dan.
Now, I know Carey Price hasn't been involved in anything extraordinary yet in preseason with the Canadiens, but I just had to play that clip because I'm addicted to Michel Lacroix saying Carey Price. I had him do it on the show last week. Dan, I want to ask you first. This is a team obviously coming off a difficult season. It's a brand new year. Their last preseason game was, tremendous. What is the mood in your estimation, if you can kind of put it into words? What is the mood around the team now as compared to last year around this time, and also at the end of the season a few months ago?
I think if you compare it to the mood this time last year, it's probably the same. I think there's 30 teams that are in a good mood right now. Whether it's justifiable or not, I don't know. But, boy, by the time the end of the season came around last year, it was just punching the clock, get it over with sort of thing. And you couldn't blame anybody for that. It was just such a demoralizing last half of the year. I'm not saying the guys didn't show up, but, they were ripped apart. It was, you go into the room after a game and you think, okay, I have to talk to Joel Hanley. What does he look like? It was just so many new faces. It wasn't really the Canadiens, and I give credit to those guys who came up and did their best, and some of them, it worked out for them. They got a chance to show their stuff on a National Hockey League level. But, everybody's happy. You can see it with Michel Therrien right now, too. He, right from the golf tournament a few weeks ago, he seemed to be in a better mood. Why wouldn't he be? He got away from everything for a little while. But I also think they realized that they're a better team than they were this time last year. Last year we were talking about Lars Eller being in the second-line left wing, and Alex Semin was second-line right wing. Well, right now we're looking at maybe Arturi Lehkonen on the left wing and Alex Radulov on the right wing in the second line. So that's just one example, but I think it's a reason for them to feel good, maybe a little bit better than they did last year. I know they have a better team right now than they did then.
That's exactly what I was going to say, actually, in terms of the mood that I've experienced around the team, is that despite those changes in terms of personnel, it just seems that last year was so terrible that there is so much excitement to actually put it behind them this year by playing meaningful games, that there's this aura around the room that they are so ready to get going.
I think so, and I'm not sure what you can read into it, but yesterday I had to go to Brassard to interview the guys who were at the World Cup because they weren't available for the first media day, and it was nice to sit one-on-one with, it was Pacioretty and Price and Yemlin and Markov and Weber. I'm not sure if I'm missing anyone, but it was really interesting, and you could just tell. I asked a couple of them, and they said, "Look, we have to wait a week. We'd like to start playing tomorrow." But it's almost like it was an aberration in a sense. They deserve to finish where they did. They didn't. There was a time last year where they couldn't get a win around Christmas time, even though they were playing well, and then injuries mounted and so on and so forth. But look, the big difference we all know is a healthy Price, and he's looked good in the World Cup, and there's no reason to think he won't be as good as he was 2 years ago. So when you have that to start with, I think you're in pretty good shape, and everybody senses that.
Habs Breakfast here on TSN 690. It's Weekend Game Plan with Matthew Ross. We're here until 9 o'clock. We're chatting with Dan Robertson, play-by-play man for TSN 690, as well as Amanda Stein.
Dan, you mentioned quickly Carey Price there and being healthy, but if perhaps like a big man goes down on defense, I saw you tweeting yesterday that Price once did play as a D-man.
Yeah, we saw him last year kind of skating around sometimes in practice. And
he's got a shot.
Yeah, no, it's true, and I said that. I asked him, have you ever played? And he said, I started as a goalie, and I didn't ask him what age he started to play out. He said, mostly defense. He said, but I said, were you good? He said, yeah, I think I was above average. I had a pretty good stride, and he said I was always bigger, so that helped, and we know that. He said, you forget that too, right? And unless sometimes you stand beside him, as you have, or in front of him, this is a big man. But, yeah, he's a good athlete, and some people gush over him so much. It was kind of funny. And last year in the media, some people are saying, well, he could have played in the NHL as a player. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. You don't know that. But anyway, he is a good athlete. And he was in a really good mood yesterday. He had a cut on his chin where he got high stick in the Toronto game. And he said, pardon me if I lisp because I bit my tongue
wow.
when I took the shot under the chin. So I said, yeah, well, when you did, I said, I think 18 or 19,000 people held their breath, and it's going to be that way this year. Anytime anybody gets near him or if he goes down, everybody's going to think, oh, no, here we go again.
And for good reason, Dan. Dan, looking at the roster cut-down deadline coming up, a lot of fans are they would like to fast forward and just understand that full roster that we're going to see on Thursday night. Can you help us make sense and kind of fill in the blanks?
Yeah, I think I would guess that Michael McCarron will be sent to St. John's through no fault of his own. He's on a two-way contract, and which means he doesn't have to clear waivers if he goes down. But he's had a really good camp. I think it's becoming clear now. The one thing I want to see is what happened with Jeff Petrie. They're going to give an update tomorrow, and I hope he's going to be all right. He stepped on a puck Thursday night, but I believe Mark Bergevin had told someone that it wasn't serious. But I would expect Arturi Lehkonen will make the team. I would think they want to keep him around because if they don't, he has to go back to Sweden. So, and also the last couple of games, he's scored a couple of nice goals. So that would make sense. And it's looking more and more like Mikhail Sergachev will stay at least for the first 9 games. I wouldn't expect that he would stay for any more. So it's all kind of coming together now when you look at those final cuts. I mean, Mike Condon obviously is going to be sent down, and Montoya will be the backup. But I think Thursday night gave us a pretty good sense of how it was going to look. Byron, he's out with pneumonia. Hopefully he can get better soon. But it's all, they look like, from the top line through the fourth line, it's not the 77 Habs, but there's some good pieces there, so they should be okay.
Sergachev at 18 years old, it's unusual, particularly in this organization, that they would make that jump to keep a player that young, especially on defense, to start the beginning of the year. Of course, there is that 9-game leeway where it doesn't cut into his first year of his entry-level contract. But what have you liked most, Dan, from him, and what do you think that they're seeing in him that make them want to keep him here, at least for the start of the season? Regardless of Jeff Petrie's injury.
Right. What I've liked most is he just looks a lot more mature physically and skill-wise than an 18-year-old. And I've liked his aggressiveness. And I don't mean going out and try to rip somebody's head off. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's carried the puck. He's not scared to skate it out of his own zone. And he stepped up. He's come out to the neutral zone, and he's looking for the hit. I guess it's a long way of saying he's probably playing the same game that he played in junior. It's tougher to play the game here, and he found that out in Quebec City when Hayes ran over him behind the net. But that's going to happen. And I just think he's played with a really nice level of maturity. And I think my guess is that they probably want to keep him, at least for the 9 games, to work with him a little bit more and to have J.J. Daniel work with him. And well, it can't hurt. To give him that experience of practicing and traveling with the team a little bit to give him a taste of what it's like. And I would think he'd go back down, and I would really think that if everything goes well, I can see him being a regular next year. Probably not this year, but boy, this guy, it's you keep going back to it. They got him because the season was so terrible. That's how they got the 9th overall pick. And Mark Bergevin said in Buffalo, we paid a big price to get this pick. And they did. But someday people are going to look back and think, remember that year? Well, yeah, it was tough. But look, we got the 9th pick, and look who we got for it. So I think his future is that bright.
Dan Robertson joining us here on Habs Breakfast on Weekend Game Plan with Matthew Ross, Amanda Stein, also in studio. Dan, the Canadiens make a minor move this weekend, picking up a Montrealer, Jonathan Racine from the Florida Panthers. 1 career NHL game played, the rest in the minors. He played his junior hockey in Shawinigan. What do you make of this move? I mean, the guy's born in Montreal, and probably a couple of weeks before the Habs won the last Stanley Cup. But I don't think that's why they acquired him. What do you make of it?
Well, I think at one point they weren't high on Bozon anymore. And listen, best of luck to him. I mean, here's a kid who overcame meningitis. Just the fact that he's able to still be on this planet is something great, let alone play the game that he loves. But Racine's he's a big kid, 6'2". He's physical. He's had over 100 penalty minutes in junior. Would have been on that Memorial Cup winning team with Shawinigan. It doesn't hurt, that he's from Montreal. They didn't get him for that, but when you look at it, say he's in Laval next year. That doesn't hurt either. But I think it's Mark Bergevin. He loves to stockpile defensemen, and I just looking at it, and I've seen Racine play. I don't remember, but I know I did a number of years ago. But and all I'm going by is the stats and that sort of thing. But it looks like somebody who they can get more use out of than Tim Bozon, who I think at best was a borderline American Hockey League player. So I think it's a good move, and I don't know if he'll ever be here with any regularity, but I think he's a good guy to have in your system.
All right, looking forward to next Thursday night. Certainly the first game of the year. We'll have a nice shindig here for the listeners at 1717 René Lévesque. You'll have a better seat, I would think, for the game against Buffalo. Looking at the starting lineup, who are you most excited to see on opening night, just in terms of getting in game action and what he'll do?
I want to see Alex Radulov, and we've seen him 3 times in the preseason, and he looks really good. I mean, he has terrific vision, and somebody that they've injected into the lineup, they needed that. They needed somebody who can create some offense and has some imagination out there. So I want to see, obviously, what he's going to be able to do with Plekanec and probably Lehkonen. But more than that, I do want to see Shea Weber, because unlike everybody else, or most people, I guess, you kind of see him from afar with the national teams that he's been on and occasionally with Nashville. But I want to see the guy over the course of maybe the first half of the season and then really get a good idea of what he's all about, because I find until you see somebody live, you can't really appreciate what he can do. But I want to see them on the power play, and I'm anxious to call a Weber goal when he tees one up on a one-timer, because we know this guy can blast the puck. So he's going to hit some guys and hurt them in the Canadiens' end. And I just think that it's a really good move by the team. And I'm not talking about the fact that they gave up Subban to get him, but I just think with his injection into the lineup, it's going to make them harder to play against. And I think it's a positive for a lot of reasons. And I'm really anxious to see what he can do.
How's that Buffalo press box?
The Buffalo press box, it's actually really good. It's a very nice rink. It's not that old. Their food is good, which is always a bonus.
That is always nice.
That
is
it's
always
almost
a plus.
Good. They have cake and cheesecake and all of that up in the, you can go and jam that down your throat anytime the intermission. So I try and walk in the other direction. There's too many calories over there.
Sure you do. Yeah, right, Dan.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing you and Sergio. I don't know if you can top your reference to Sergio of a man bun on the ice, but
that was amazing.
Yeah, that was about Nikita Sherbak. I noticed that, and I said, he has a man bun, and Sergio gave me that look, and he could. I don't think anybody had a man bun when Sergio played. I'm pretty sure.
I don't think they just had mullets.
Yeah,
which is worse. It's
right.
like one of those
I did too,
episodes
but
of which is worse.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm never going to have a man bun, just so you know.
All right, you should put that in your Twitter bio.
Okay.
DRTSN690, by the way, if you want to follow Dan on Twitter. Dan, thank you so much for taking the time. We're all excited to listen in next Thursday night.
Okay, thanks, guys. See ya.